Hi guys, Natalie, Jill here today on Happy, Healthy, and Fit. And today I'm with my good friend, Kim. I call her Om Yoga Kim because we've connected through yoga. Hi, Kim.
Hi, thanks for having me. I wasn't present to my calling until probably about 4 years ago. You don't realize your story until you have like maybe a moment in life that occurs that has you realize that. It's a service trip to Haiti. And so when we're in Haiti, we volunteered with several different orphanages. And it wasn't until that moment that it dawned on me and I was like, oh my God, like I used to be an orphan myself. I was left at the doorstep of the orphanage.
So you don't even know your real birth date.
Exactly.
Someone like you that's made such a positive turnaround in your life, your story has a lot to do with it. And I feel by sharing it with others, it's going to help many other people do the same. Mm-hmm. So, but let's start. Kim, when I first met Kim, I met her because I wanted to do yoga. I knew I needed to, but I didn't like yoga. So I literally walked into a yoga studio and I said, do you have an instructor that can come to my house and make me do yoga? I mean, that's how I met you. Mm-hmm. And the universe brought me Kim because Kim and I spent the first few days working together, not really saying much other than talking through yoga and just general discussions. And then one day I started inquiring about her story, and that's when I learned these amazing things. So I want to back up and share. Kim, tell me about how you came into this world.
As a baby, I was an orphan in Korea. Mm-hmm. And up until probably about 9 months, I think, I lived in the orphanage. And apparently what happened is, because I'm from an orphanage, they don't know, I think 100% full details, mm-hmm. but I was born, and then I was left at the doorstep of the orphanage.
So you don't even know your real birth date?
Exactly, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that they guessed on my birthday's May 13th, but they guessed on the date based on my size when I was left at the doorstep of the orphanage.
So you just know you were left at a doorstep, exactly. And you were approximately 9 months, and unfortunately it's very common for kids to get left that way.
I think so. It was back then, mm-hmm. But it wasn't actually until I would say, I'm pretty clear today on what my calling is in life, mm-hmm. but I didn't actually I wasn't present to my calling mm-hmm. until probably about 4 years ago, mm-hmm. Which, I mean, the funny thing too is that you don't realize your story until you have mm-hmm. like maybe a moment in life that occurs that has you realize that. So for me, it was in 2011. That was about 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. I was just feeling, I've always had a very blessed and fortunate life, lots of opportunity, but I was having this like void happening, and I was feeling like I needed more, and I needed something else that was bigger that I wasn't like tapping into. And so I ended up doing a lot of work with this organization, Off the Mat into the World, and through that, I went on a volunteer trip with them as a service trip to Haiti. And so when we were in Haiti, we volunteered with several different orphanages. Mm-hmm. And it wasn't until that moment that it dawned on me, and I was like, oh my God, like I used to be an orphan myself. And I've mm-hmm. actually never, this is the honest truth, I've never in my entire life considered myself an orphan. It just never even has occurred or even popped into my mm-hmm. mind that I used to be homeless, living in an orphanage in Korea. Wow. And so for me, I think I'm just fascinated that it never mm-hmm. once happened as a concept in my mind. But so that's why it was such a huge realization for me, because I just couldn't believe that I used to be like these kids that I'm interacting mm-hmm. with right now. And then I got lucky, I'm mm-hmm. super blessed. I dealt a really good card of hand of cards. Don't. Right. And so at 9 months I was adopted and, flown from Korea to Minnesota, which is where my parents lived at that time. And I just became so present to how fortunate I was, because I was interacting and playing with, and having conversations with these kids that have grown up there. And at that time in 2012, they were, 12 and 13 and 14 years old, and they'd mm-hmm. been there since they were babies. growing up in the orphanages, and I just could not. I had a really hard time processing all of that. And then not to mention that I remember this one little boy specifically, and I think to this day he's still not adopted, but he had been chosen to be adopted by his parents. They're in Chicago, and I think it had been already a couple years, and they still didn't have the paperwork complete. It's a really complicated process to adopt kids. And I remember too, I went home and talked to my mom about it, because then I had all these questions that I'd never even occurred to me before, and I asked her about just general questions, and she had told me that that they had actually gotten me at the right time, because soon after I was adopted, it was really hard to adopt kids, because they had started changing policies, and they do a lot of work with the families to find out their finances. Are they healthy? How they operate day to day? So people would come into the house and sit in the corner and observe how my mom and dad were running their life and operating to make sure they were suitable to adopt somebody.
Wow.
But it's really, really interesting. So I just feel so fortunate that that I get to have the life that I have.
Yeah.
And so everything I do, so then I realized in that moment that I was an orphan, and I realized how lucky I'd gotten. Then I knew there's no choice, there's no discussion, I just knew in my heart, knew in my mind that the only thing I wanted to do was dedicate myself to helping kids that are underprivileged, that are homeless, that are somehow unfortunate to where they don't get the opportunity and the love that they deserve. And so that's why I created the One Love movement, which our cause is to fund and get behind projects that support kids who might never get to live how we get to live, which is how it is. Most kids do not get adopted into better lives. I just want to share it with people, because the hope is that it'll impact you how it's impacted me.
I love it. Well, thank you for being here. And to learn more about Kim, please check out all the information below. You can get 10-minute yogi information and more on One Love. Thanks, Kim.
Thanks, Natalie.
Bye.
Bye.